Hello, all you mysterious sand faces out there, and welcome to Undeclared Bajor.
Man, I hope there's not a lot of those.
They're all just laying in the sand listening to their podcasts. But this one is Undeclared Bajor, the best Star Trek DS9 discussion podcast in the universe.
The best.
My name is Fletcher. About to say hello is Data.
Mellow greetings.
Today we're going to discuss Star Trek DS9 Season 7, Episode 1, Image in the Sand. Alternate title, Everybody, Dax Street's Back.
Wow, that was really stretched.
I've been sitting on that one for a long time. We will be discussing spoilers up through this episode, like the one I just did in that alternate title, but not after this episode, so it is safe to watch along with us if this is your first experience with Star Trek DS9, except, of course, that last spoiler I did. Sorry, but if you didn't know that, like, the opening credits spoil that, so...
Oh, I wasn't even thinking about the opening credits. I was like, I don't think she says her first name in this episode. But credits, that would make sense.
Yeah, the fact that she didn't say her name almost made me sit on that alternate title, but I was like, no, gotta do it.
Yeah, I had to jump to the opening credits, and sure enough, Ensign Ezri Dax, right there.
Yep.
I hope nobody was watching for the first time live and was like, wait, what? And then was waiting the entire episode for this new Dax to show up.
I'm sure it must have been in, like, the promos and commercials and stuff.
There's a new Dax.
Oh my gosh, a new Dax comes to Deep Space Nine.
It's the 90s, so it had to be some sort of extreme, like, Deep Space Nine's back. And guess what? Guess who's back from the dead? That's right. It's Dax, but with a new body.
New body, new attitude.
Yep, there you go.
But yeah, also we spoil other TV shows and movies sometimes, so watch out for
all the time.
Yep.
I just finished, in my chronological Star Trek watch, I have now finished Enterprise. Ooh. And have just started, I'm like halfway through the first episode of Discovery, which it was Enterprise, and then there's some short Trek, like shorts that I guess happen in there, and then there was The Cage episode of the original series, and then Discovery. So I was like, oh, wow. So Discovery happens, like, before the original series, but after The Cage. All right.
Wait, was The Cage the original pilot with Christopher Pike and all that?
With Christopher Pike, yeah.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. But, anyway, Tears of the Prophets originally aired September 30th, 1998. It was written by Ira Steven Behr and Hans Beimler, and directed by Les Landau. So, we know all these people.
Yep. We know them. I still can't hear Les Landau without thinking of, like, Sideshow Bob being like, right. less wine in and more whatever. Yep. I forget.
You should do more thinking and less whining or something like that.
Wait, there's no Councilman less whining.
And Cirroc Lofton is in the episode.
Yeah, that's good. You know, if we'd gotten back to New Orleans and Jake was just gone, there would be questions.
Jake finally went to New Zealand. But it's a few months after the events of Tears of the Prophets, and a group of Bajoran devotees in red armbands gathers around the Promenade Temple, chanting ominously.
It is always nice when they wear armbands so you can easily identify them.
Yeah, I approve. Kira and Odo watch from the walkway above. Kira is sporting a new hairdo.
Yep.
So, Kira hairdo watch. And she's also got a new custom uniform, unlike anything else seen on any member of the Bajoran militia.
Well, I mean, how many colonels have we seen? Because she's also been promoted to colonel.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like we've seen a few, but yeah, maybe Probably. This is just a colonel's uniform.
This is a female colonel's uniform, okay? So it's very niche.
Yeah, ultra form-fitting, comes with the required longer hairdo.
I feel like Kira changes up her hair more than almost anybody on this show, as opposed to Odo, who never changes his hair. Mm. And Cisco did that one time.
Yeah. But Kira and Odo discuss the imminent arrival of Admiral Ross. Kira is worried because on the phone, Admiral Ross was too nice, and that's never a good sign.
Yep. Yeah, I can believe that. Oh, there's a note. There's a note here about the cult of the paw wraiths, but also a note about Kira's promotion.
Okay.
Nana visitor's like, yeah, I asked for that to happen. I thought it was time after 6 years of good service. Everyone around her has been promoted. Cisco, Bashir, Jadzia, even Nog. So why not?
Fair enough,
Yeah, no, totally fair. And then about the cult of the paw wraiths, Ira Stephen Bear says, we wanted to show that, like war, religion can be a dangerous thing. We'd spent 6 years portraying the Bajoran religion, celebrating it in a way, and establishing that there's something greater than technology. And that's good, but faith can be subverted very easily. It's what you put your faith in that ultimately matters. A lack of faith, I think, is bad, but unthinking religion is also bad.
I mean, have we not made this point many, many times with Kai Wynn?
But now there are armbands.
Okay, now there's armbands. So, but yeah, Kira is looking back down at the cult of the paw wraiths with concern. Apparently, the cult has been gaining followers on Bajor following the paw wraiths' pretty clear demonstration of superiority to the prophets.
I mean, yeah, it's hard to argue.
Odo says, well, if you want, I can go down there and break up their peaceful gathering, based entirely on the fact that they practice a different religion than you. I have no legal or moral problem doing that.
Nope.
But Kira says no, and says she's worried about the captain, who hasn't been heard from in 3 months.
Dude, Odo always wants to break up demonstrations on the promenade. Right. It doesn't matter what they're about.
Yeah. He's just, oh, please let me go down there and bust some skulls. But Odo tries to cheer up Kira with a little "things are always darkest before the dawn" speech, impressing her with his newfound optimism, with which she credits their amazing and not weird kiss on the promenade that one time. Then the Defiant docks at Deep Space Nine after a long, boring mission of convoy guard duty. Convoy liaison Cassidy is nowhere to be seen. So,
we only see the bridge. She doesn't need to be on the bridge.
Okay, so maybe she's just like hanging down in the mess hall or something. Or in her quarters.
Or her ship got blown up.
Yeah, Cassidy is dead. Nog says, look on the bright side. Convoy duty may be boring, but it's way safer than the front lines. And then Worf, sitting in the captain's chair, chews out Nog for being such a wuss and says real warriors should want to be on the front lines, doing great heroic deeds and dying great heroic deaths.
Are you not some sort of real warrior? Isn't that why you joined the Klingon never mind.
Nog says he's not afraid to fight, he just doesn't want to die, which, yep, that is the rub, Nog. You have beautifully distilled the moral of every war story ever written into one sentence.
Yeah, he cut right to it.
He has figured it out.
Although in Forrest Gump, that guy did want to die.
Oh, true.
That was his story.
Or did he really?
Oh, yeah.
Maybe he just needed to make peace with himself. So Chief O'Brien and Dr. Bashir tell Nog not to worry about it. Worf is still working through Jadzia's death. Back on Earth, at Cisco's Creole kitchen in New Orleans, Captain Cisco plays piano in the dining room, providing an elegant and relaxed ambiance that suits the restaurant nicely.
According to the wiki, he is playing Round Midnight by the Thelonious Monk.
Ah, nice. Jake is a little worried about his dad, but Joe says don't worry about it. He's just trying to work things out. However, I personally think that Ben is really just trying to avoid clam scrubbing duty.
Oh, but it seems so chill when he's scrubbing clams later.
Then suddenly the magic baseball, which was sitting on top of the piano for some reason, rolls off onto the floor.
I assume he just carries it with him everywhere he goes.
Yeah, probably. Cisco half-heartedly reaches for it and is about to say screw it when he flashes into a prophet vision. He finds himself in the desert. The unmistakable desert of Tyree, where there are apparently lots of Joshua trees.
I mean, that's how you know it's Tyree, obviously.
And I assume this was filmed at, like, Joshua Tree National Park or something.
I love the 2 notes about Tyree.
Okay.
So first, in addition to being a name of a planet in this episode, Tyree was also the name of a main character in the original series episode, A Private Little War. but that appears just to be a coincidence.
Huh. So that guy didn't found a planet or something?
Not as far as we know. And then the other note is that Tyree was named after the Richard Harris character Benjamin Tyreen in the 1965 Sam Peckinpah film Major Dundee.
Of course.
And then I'm like, wait, what was Major Dundee about? Like Crocodile Dundee? Probably not, since that
doubt
was,
it.
Decades before. But a man can dream, can't he? A man can dream.
I believe that Ira Stephen Bear made a totally pointless, obscure reference to a Sam Peckinpah movie.
Okay, so Charlton Heston stars as Major Amos Charles Dundee.
Okay.
Okay, wait, this is interesting. I saw the very last line of the summary and I was like, wait, what? So this is an American Civil War movie.
Sure.
Cavalry officer Major Amos Dundee is relieved of his command for an unspecified tactical error at the Battle of Gettysburg and sent to head a prisoner of war camp in the New Mexico territory.
Huh.
Okay, but I'm going to skip most of it down to the end. As Dundee's force heads home, the narration notes that it is now April 19th, 1865. The soldiers are unaware that Lee has surrendered, the Civil War is over, and Abraham Lincoln has been assassinated. So,
wow, they're unaware of all that?
Yeah, they're way out in the New Mexico territory.
Oh, okay. They don't have like telegraph or something?
I mean, maybe they they've been out on some sort of mission through this movie or something. I don't know. I didn't read all the details.
So, okay. So what do they do? Like, is that the whole plot of the movie?
No, I skipped to the end of the thing. It was just okay. Hold on. We'll read the plot of the movie.
Okay.
After a family of ranchers and a relief column of cavalry are massacred by Apache war chief Sierra Chariba, Dundee sends his scout Samuel Potts to locate Chariba and begins raising his own unauthorized force. He attempts to recruit Confederate prisoners led by his former friend Captain Ben Tyreen. Tyreen bears a grudge against Dundee and refuses his request. Before the war, Dundee had cast the deciding vote in Tyreen's court-martial from the United States Army for participating in a duel, leading to Tyreen's dismissal. Dundee is a Southerner, but fought for the Union. Oh, okay.
Huh.
Interesting. Okay. He has recruits, the only survivor of the massacre, as well as a horse thief, a drunken mule packer, a vengeful minister, and a small group of black soldiers who are tired of doing menial tasks. Okay, so they're going to go off after this Apache guy.
Okay.
They engage the Apaches in several bloody battles. They rescue several young children captured by the Apaches. They lose their supplies in an ambush, forcing them to raid a village garrisoned by French troops supporting Emperor Maximilian of Mexico. So I love that it's French troops supporting the Mexican emperor.
Sure.
However, little remains to be looted, and Dundee instead ends up sharing some of his dwindling food with the starving Mexicans. An Austrian widow of a doctor executed for supporting the rebels under Benito Juarez causes further tensions between Dundee and Tyreen as they compete for her attentions.
Well, this sounds like a really happening movie.
Teresa and Dundee have a brief affair. In an unguarded moment, I assume related to the affair, he is attacked by Apaches and wounded in the leg, forcing him to seek medical help in the French-held Durango. Okay, let's see. He's tended to by a pretty Mexican, whom he eventually takes to bed. When Teresa comes upon them, her relationship with Dundee comes to an abrupt end. Dundee starts drinking heavily. Graham leads a small group of men to distract the French while Tyreen shames Dundee into resuming his mission. He has no hope of catching the Apaches, so he pretends to give up and starts back for the United States. The Apaches give chase, falling into Dundee's trap. And then, I guess after they successfully defeat the Apaches, Dundee and Tyreen prepare to resume their private vendetta, but the French appear. They position a portion of their force on the American side of the Rio Grande. Shot in the stomach, Tyreen single-handedly charges the French cavalry, enabling the others to cross the Rio Grande. Only Yankees, Dundee, Graham, Potts, Ryan, and Sergeant Gomez, plus 2 Confederates and a few others survive. Okay, and then they head home. So, wow.
That sounds like quite a movie.
Yeah. Spoilers for Lincoln is assassinated.
A lot going on there.
Yeah. Oh man, James Coburn is in this? I love that guy.
Oh, nice.
Anyway, back to this thing.
Right. That's, no, that's all we have time for today.
Tune in for next time for another Sam Peckinpah movie summary.
Right. Well, we'll go even more in depth.
Yeah.
Okay, so yes, Back to where we were. Captain Sisko is in his vision of the planet Tyree, which he can immediately recognize. He digs in the sand and uncovers a stone carving of a woman's face. And then the carving transforms into a real woman's face. And then he flashes back to the restaurant where everybody is wondering why the music suddenly stopped.
Okay, so there's notes in here about that shot.
Okay.
And, there's multiple notes about it where I was like, it didn't seem like that big a deal of a shot to me. But, so the lady who plays Sarah Sisko is commenting, it's like, oh, that was so exciting for me. There was a clay mask made of my face. I had to go to the makeup department at Paramount and sit in a chair, and they put clay on me, and I sat there for a while till it hardened. They made 2 of the masks. They were clay colored, so they had to apply makeup to match my skin tone, and makeup for masks to make them look like my face. They looked like a sculpture of my face. Pretty amazing. I still have one of the 2. They look exactly like me, like seeing myself in quiet peace. And so, after the masks were created, they went to film it, and she's like, so we were on a sand stage, and they made a medium sandbox, and they first filmed the masks in the sandbox. They had both masks to work with where my eyes were closed, and then they shot the mask in the sand, and then I was then asked to lay down face up in the sandbox, and they shot my face in a tight close-up just to get my eyes to open. So I did a few takes of opening my eyes with the direction that I was opening them to speak for the first time. And then in post-production, the pair of masks dissolve into the footage of her opening her eyes. And she's like, oh my gosh, like the special effects team did such an amazing job of like transitioning this. It really makes it look like my face was in the sand.
Huh.
So, she seems really excited about that special effect.
Nice. So she wasn't really buried in the sand?
No, it does not sound like she was.
That's disappointing. So, Jake asks his dad what's wrong, and Ben re-describes everything we just saw. But
except, he says the Tyree thing.
True.
And since we're not familiar with Tyree, that helps out.
I thought it was pretty obvious that was Tyree, but...
Look at all those Joshua trees.
Yeah.
I mean, Tyree trees.
Right. But Ben now knows what he has to do. He has to find this mysterious woman whose face was in the sand.
Should we go there to look for her? His son asks. And he's like, no, why would we do that?
Then we get the opening credits where a mysterious new name appears.
Yeah, apparently this was like, does it say the longest or this episode has one of the longest teasers lasting just over 8 minutes in all of Star Trek. So.
Yeah, this episode also just kind of has a lot of random seeming stuff happening in it.
So, Ira Stephen Bear and Hans Beimler talk about they were trying for a very specific feel that was unusual with this opener. And Bear says, we started the final season, we made a very bold and perhaps stupid choice, although I'd do it again. We wrote the quietest opening episode we've ever done on the show. This time we decided we were going to play with the audience's expectations and give them something smaller, more intimate, quieter, a reflective breath, so to speak. So, he's like, maybe it was dumb, but it was my kind of dumb.
That's what people want after waiting all summer for their show to come back is...
Yeah, something chill.
A nice, quiet, reflective breath of an episode. So, at her meeting with Admiral Ross, the meeting between Kira and Admiral Ross, Ross breaks the news that the Romulans want to establish a military presence on the station, led by a Senator Kretak. Kira has some concerns. I mean, I was fine letting the Klingons do it, even though the last time we let them set up camp here, they betrayed us, and then we spent a whole season in a brutal, pointless war.
Yeah.
But, I mean, come on, the Romulans?
I mean, the Romulans are, like, extra known for their betrayals,
right.
So,
the Klingons probably wouldn't do that 2 times.
Fool me once, shame on me. Or shame on you, sorry.
Right. No, you immediately get shamed the very first time.
I guess we also learn here that Ross's first name is Bill.
Oh,
and
really?
The note is, this confused actor Barry Jenner because diploma and award props that, though ineligible on the screen, had been made for Ross's office in Starbase 375, listed his first name as Cliff.
Huh.
Cliff Ross is a...
Maybe, Bill is short for Cliff. I don't know.
That name that's the exact same length as that other name.
Maybe it's like Cliff Bill Ross or something.
Good old Cliff Bill.
But yeah, so Cliff Bill is like, well, okay, look, it's gonna happen. I don't care who owns this station. Just try and stop us from doing it.
Yeah, there's a very long note in here about, like, this is a Bajoran station, and it's been established numerous times that, like, the Bajoran government gets final say in this sort of stuff. So it's unclear on why he's allowed to, like, make that sort of, like, laying down of the law with, the Bajoran highest ranking officer on the station. I like the one theory it puts forward is that maybe, since Starfleet, like, retook the station from the Dominion, the Bajorans have just kind of given them carte blanche, since...
Could be.
They wouldn't have had the station otherwise.
I mean, there's a lot of stuff that hasn't been clear. Like, it's never been clear exactly when the Bajorans, like, stopped being at peace with the Dominion, so...
Yeah, it's true. I'm pretty sure it was Kieran the Defiant in that last episode.
Probably.
Like, technically breach of peace treaty. It's war now.
Oh, well. So on Cardassia, Wayun and Damar are pleased that they've managed to keep the attacking forces at bay. Apparently, Chintaka has turned out to not be the great jumping-off point for attack that the Federation Alliance hoped it would be.
Yeah.
Damar celebrates with a glass of Kanar, and Wayun throws some shade at him for being an alcoholic. So we're returning to the Damar is a drunk storyline.
Yeah. Doing it so, like, big and early in the season, I feel like there's like, oh, hey, yeah, this was a thing. Let's lean into this now. I also love that they acknowledge her. It's like, I guess Ducat was right. Like,
oh yeah,
I don't know what he did helps us exactly, but it seems to be working. So
it's whatever Ducat did, it like released some magical juju that shifted the war back in their favor. And then Damar goes into kind of a stoner monologue of, dude, you ever wonder what goes on inside the wormhole? Like an endless battle between good and evil or something? And Wayun is just like, dude, what's in that Kanar?
Wayun's like, no. What's wrong with you? Honestly, I was like, no, that's a good point.
Yeah. No, they never want to think about what's inside the wormhole. And that's constantly what's biting them.
It's kind of true. Yeah, I hadn't thought of it that way, but yeah.
It's like, yeah, we're the beings of unimaginable power, like, determine our fates. Yeah, I don't really think about it that much.
Nah, just why bother?
Back at Cisco's Creole kitchen, Ben is on his tablet using a facial construction app to make a picture of the face he saw in his dream.
Yeah, it's like what the police use when you don't have they don't do sketch artists, they do these like composites.
Yeah, like there's a very memorable scene in The Wire where they use one of these, where they bring in some drug dealers who got robbed to make a like sketch of the person that robbed them, and they get distracted and just start trying to make a really hot woman.
Man, I don't know if it's just I don't have a good memory for faces or anything, but whenever I see those scenes in those procedural shows, I'm just like, I would never get a good representation. It would end up looking like a celebrity or something, right? Because I just can't.
It's like, well, is his nose wide or narrow? It's like, I don't know.
It's like, he was too busy robbing me. I wasn't looking at the bridge of his nose.
Was it an oval-shaped face or a heart-shaped face? So I really couldn't tell you what the difference is between those.
He had hair,
right?
And, of eyes and stuff. Find him.
Yeah, it's like he either had black or blonde hair, but he definitely had hair. And maybe a beard, but maybe not.
Yeah.
Is what I would be like.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, Jake walks by and is like, hey, I know that lady. I saw her in this picture I found in Grandpa's room when I was snooping around trying to figure out where he hides the good booze.
A worthy goal.
Always. So he goes and finds the picture, which shows the mystery woman with young Joe. Then Joe walks in about to ask what happened to all his good booze, but they cut him off by asking who the woman in the picture is. And then Joe gets all mad and is like, she's no one at all, you hear me? No one at all, and runs off.
Yeah, I mean, really played it smooth.
Yeah, so I'm convinced. Yeah, Ben and Jake just kind of like stare after him like, okay.
That was weird.
This might warrant a follow-up. Then we see Worf lying in bed, not laying in bed. wide awake, looking at his wedding picture with Dax, which maybe don't keep that right there. Do whatever you need, but seems like it's causing you some problems. So Worf goes up to Vic Fontaine's lounge and tells him, sing the song. Vic seems reluctant to sing the song, but Worf is like, I am a living thing and you are a computer program. You exist to serve me. Now sing me the song, slave.
On some level, he's not wrong.
And he's like, no, I don't want to hear your anecdote about hanging out with Joey. I have no cultural context for who that is.
It's like, I was raised by Russians,
right.
And also am Klingon, so...
So Vic magically summons his band and sings All the Way, which was apparently Worf and Dax's favorite song, although it's never been mentioned before.
I mean, magically is kind of, disingenuous, given that we know that they are holograms, and that he can, control it to some extent.
Using hologram magic, Hearing the song sends Worf into a Klingon rage, and he starts smashing up the whole joint.
Go into people's houses at night and wreck up the place.
Ooh. Then we cut to the new Romulan office on the station, where Senator Kretak is overseeing the move-in and complaining about the uncomfortable chairs.
They've already hung, their logo on the wall and everything. I like that that's, priority one when moving into this new place.
We gotta make sure people know whose office this is.
The lights coming out of, the weird grill in the background are all green. So this is the Romulan area.
Right. They probably just, they have the little LED knob and they turn it to green. They're perfect.
Yeah, maybe.
So Kira swings by and introduces herself, and she finds Senator Kretak to be actually kind of pleasant for a Romulan. Almost too pleasant.
Suspiciously pleasant.
And then after the Worf rampage incident, Vic has Quark and Bashir over to complain. He worries that if this continues, the band will quit and he'll be forced to reveal the true horrifying nature of their reality to them. But Bashir finds it curious that Worf is still hung up on Dax's death. Klingon mourning periods don't usually last this long.
Yeah, why does he care about his wife so much?
Yes, I don't get it. I mean, his wife was killed by weird magic, and then he can't.
We never caught the guy who did it. And
back at Cisco's, Ben comes downstairs wearing some bold pajamas to confront his dad about the mystery woman. He's like, "These are my power pajamas."
Those are some interesting. He's got the purple pajamas with the red dressing gown. Mm. It's a bold fashion choice for sure.
He has made a choice, and he is not ashamed of it.
And he grabs his dad and shakes him. It's like, tell me what I want to know.
Right, yes. Joe is still reluctant to discuss it, but Ben tries the classic tactic of grabbing his dad and shaking him violently. Which, I don't know about your relationship with your dad, but that's something I'd be perfectly fine doing.
Swear to me.
Be like, old man, what were you talking about? But this does the trick, and Joe admits that the woman in the photo was his first wife, or at least previous wife, Sarah.
Yeah, you just had to shake those memories loose. That was right. What was the problem.
And then Ben is like, you were married before you married Mom? And Joe says, well, no, technically, because...
Funny story.
Yeah. Actually, she is your mom. And Ben is like, oh, is that why my mother's name on my birth certificate says Sarah? I thought that was just a typo.
They don't have birth certificates in the future. Come on.
You don't need to prove who you are or where you were born.
They just took your DNA at birth and you scan it later.
And he just never looked up who was listed as his mother. Joe explains that when Ben was 1 year old, Sarah ran away to that most horrible of all places, Australia.
Yep.
And she died in a hovercraft accident before Joe could track her down. So Joe did the most reasonable thing he could think of and covered up her entire existence. Joe explains it away as, well, life is full of choices, and that's the one I made.
Yeah.
Honestly, it kind of reflects badly on you for not figuring it out until now. And then Ben asks if there are any other secrets he's keeping, and Joe says, just my gumbo recipe, which does also happen to contain the secret to defeating the Pa Wraiths, but...
Taking that one to my grave.
Yep. So later, Kira is walking down on the promenade, and she runs into Senator Kretak at the Jumja stick stand, trying a Jumja stick. Jumja stick is just a tongue twister. Kira admits that she hates Jumja sticks, and Kretak suggests a Romulan Ozol twist as an alternative.
They're very tart.
And then Kretak says there's a squadron of warbirds coming in later, and Kira's like, oh, don't worry about it. We're on top of it. And Kretak is impressed. And then she's like, oh, also, I just had this random idea. You know that deserted fourth moon of Bajor? You think it would be okay if we set up a field hospital there? And Kira's like, sure, I find nothing suspicious about that request. I'll see what I can do. I mean, we have hospitals all over the place, but building a brand new one on a completely uninhabited moon sounds like a good plan to me.
Why is that moon uninhabited? I thought didn't we discuss in like a previous episode that they were living on a lot of these moons?
I mean, I just remember there was the one moon that they had to evacuate because of the they were going to turn the entire core into a power generator.
Yeah, presumably this is not that one.
Yeah, I think this is a different one, but I'm not sure.
Okay, so Bajor has at least 5 moons. Okay, so it looks like it was Gerardo, the 5th moon, that they were doing that to back in Progress.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But how many moons does Bajor have? Do we know?
I mean, you just said at least 5, so...
Well, because this is the 5th moon, is Gerardo, so...
Right.
But I was like, do we know more precisely?
Mm-hmm.
No, maybe not. Maybe they just wanted the ability to add moons as they needed.
Right, they didn't want to commit to a moon number.
Okay, according to the wiki for Bajor, it is Derna, Gerardo, and 3 additional unnamed moons.
Oh, okay. I mean, I think that's probably just doing a little bit of deduction. So there could be like a 6th moon, right? Or more.
Yeah, maybe. Oh, and then when you get into it, it says at least 3 other moons. So yeah, okay, we just don't know.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. So maybe there's like a whole lore backstory of why nobody lives on this moon or something. I don't know.
It's haunted.
So Dr. Bashir enlists Chief O'Brien for a special operation called Operation Get Worf Drunk and Figure Out What's Going On with Him. So the chief walks into Worf's quarters and makes Worf start drinking and hanging out with him whether he wants to or not. And they start telling us hey, remember that guy Barkley?
I mean, if you're going to talk about funny stuff that happened on the Enterprise, that's at the top of the list for sure, is Barkley.
Yeah. Man, that guy sure caused a lot of, crazy stuff.
I mean, presumably Worf... I don't know if Worf did run into him during First Contact, which would be way more recently than O'Brien, but... Because Barkley was on the planet with Zefram Cochrane, and Worf was on the ship.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he totally could have been oh, yeah, I saw him, on the Enterprise E.
Yeah. Apparently, this scene is the only time O'Brien ever refers to Geordi by his first name.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I mean, given the whole Worf and Quark fiasco,
yep. How believable
I'm gonna put an
is
asterisk on that, but yeah. So the next morning, with a blood wine hangover, Miles reveals what he learned. Worf is upset because Jadzia isn't in Stovacor.
Oh, man.
She neither ate the heart of one of her enemies, which I still contend she absolutely did.
Yeah, maybe she just didn't tell Worf about that. That note is in here, too. It's I mean, she did vow to kill the albino and eat his heart, and they did that first part. So is this indicative that she never went through with the second part? Or
I have always maintained that she ate the heart, so...
So, yeah, maybe she just, it never came up in conversation with Worf.
Yeah.
That time when she accompanied 3 of, the most legendary Klingons of all time on, this amazing adventure and ate the heart of her enemy.
Yeah. Yeah, so actually Worf is under a mistaken impression this whole time, and none of the stuff that's happening is necessary.
Yeah, she's in Stovacor 100%. It's fine. Yeah.
She's in Stovacor being dude, no, I'm here. You don't need to do this.
She's eating all the hearts in Stovacor. You know how it is.
And yeah, also she did not die in glorious battle, so I guess Dukat shooting her with Pa Wraith magic wasn't glorious enough.
I mean, she didn't even get her phaser out of the holster, so...
She reached for her gun, so I think it counts as a battle.
I don't know if there's any way that anyone would know that she reached for her gun. She didn't pull it out, so...
Oh yeah, that's true also.
I guess Dukat knows, but...
Yeah, he didn't really, stop to tell anybody.
Nope. So apparently a part of this scene with Quark and O'Brien and Bashir was used in a 2001 Dutch PSA to raise awareness for dyslexia. The footage is overlaid with increasingly garbled subtitles, basically correct translations but spelled wrong. It then cuts to a spoof of the DS9 intro with messages like trouble reading and people with dyslexia have trouble on a daily basis, styled like the actor's credits.
Wow.
So yeah, I mean that's putting a lot of effort into this PSA.
Like, was Deep Space Nine involved in this, or did they just randomly choose Deep Space Nine to do this PSA?
This is an excellent question, and there's no further elaboration in this note, so I don't know.
I'll have to see if I can find that on YouTube or somewhere.
You know, Dutch dyslexia DS9 PSA. No, I'm not finding it. There's plenty of dyslexia PSAs, but I'm not finding like a Dutch DS9 one.
We need to put this on the Lost Media Reddit and see if someone can track it down for us. But yeah, I mean, if I was in charge of Stovacor, I'd let Jadzia in. But I guess I don't make the rules. Or just Worf has no clue what's going on.
You're not Feckler or whatever.
Anyway, Worf has to win a glorious battle in Jadzia's name to secure her entrance to Stovacor. And there aren't many glorious battles to be had on convoy duty. And sending ships on highly dangerous missions just to get someone into Klingon heaven isn't really Starfleet's thing.
No, I get that.
But it is a Klingon thing. And Martok is coming back soon. So maybe they can get Martok to give Worf an awesome mission. Which I'm sure is an idea Worf already came up with on his own. But let's let Bashir, O'Brien, and Quark feel good about this one.
And it's not like Worf is needed as the last remaining ranking Starfleet combat officer for the Defiant or anything like that.
Nah. Nobody even knows what his job is. It's fine.
Like, if Worf goes off with Martok, who is going to command the Defiant? Like, Bashir?
Well, no, because he's going off too.
Oh, that's true. Him and O'Brien are going to go along. I forgot that part, yeah.
So Ben is at his usual spot in the alley, scrubbing clams. When Joe comes down and says, "Hey, I just remembered, your biological mom left behind this mysterious artifact with cryptic symbols on it. You want to take a look?" And then Ben looks at it and immediately recognizes the symbols as Ancient Bajoran. And then he puts them into, ancientbajorantranslator.com and discovers that they say, Orb of the Emissary.
Wait, that's not an orb that we know about.
Oh my goodness. And then, like us, solving a really easy escape room, the Ciscos gradually put all the pieces together. So there must be a special orb just for the emissary that he can use to talk to the prophets and figure out what to do. But where could such an orb be? I know. What about Tyree, the planet from the Vision? So now all we need to do is shine the black light on the picture and get the exact coordinates.
Yeah, I'm still amazed that it wasn't I guess I need to go to Tyree to find this lady, and then he never finds out that his dad knows her at all while he's off wandering around digging in the sand.
Yeah, it's a good thing that he went through so much effort to recreate the face, and that Jake happened to be looking over his shoulder that one time.
Hey, it's all part of the Prophet's mysterious plan. Or something.
Although, I guess he doesn't really know any more information about where to go, just what he can expect to find there.
Yeah.
And he now knows some extra information about his biological mom.
Which, never hurts, I guess.
So Kira runs into Senator Kretak again at the casualty list posting, and Kretak uses the opportunity to thank her for putting in a word for the hospital, which I guess they built in one day.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I was like, is this supposed to have been a while since that last conversation? Because that hospital got up and running fast.
Yeah, I don't know.
Not only that, but the next scene, it makes it look like she walks out of that scene and into this next scene with Odo, where he's like, yeah, these Vulcans got turned away when they tried to go to the Romulan hospital. Wait, this is suspicious.
This all happened in one afternoon.
Right, yeah.
But Kira says, absolutely, you Romulans have been really nice, and nothing about that makes me feel uneasy. And then, yes, right after that, she runs into Odo, who does one of his classic explaining the entire path of his investigation rather than just saying the important thing he found routines.
Hey, he needs everyone to know how much work he put into this.
Yeah. So you see a Starfleet ship filled with wounded tried docking at the hospital, but they were turned away. Maybe they can only handle Romulans, you might think. Sure, but most of the wounded were Vulcans, which is pretty much the same thing as Romulans. Now you might say Romulans and Vulcans don't like each other, so maybe it makes sense that they turn them away. But also, I looked and there's a bunch of trilithium isotopes in the hospital, indicating the presence of plasma torpedoes.
Every trilithium is sorts of all sorts of places.
Yeah, I mean, you can use it to blow up a sun.
Yep.
You can use it as a bioweapon to make worlds uninhabitable to humans, but not Cardassians, or is it the other way around?
I'm not entirely clear, I gotta say.
And also, apparently, you use it in plasma torpedoes. So it's just some useful stuff. But plasma torpedoes are not something you usually find in hospitals. So this is maybe something a little suspicious. And then Worf is doing some sword practice in the Hollow Suite, or maybe he just went down to a cave, I don't know. Mm-hmm. And Martok comes in and joins him and invites him to be his first officer on an upcoming dangerous and glorious mission to get Jadzia into Sto-vo-kor. Worf beats him up and accepts. Then out in the clam cleaning alley, Ben is approached by a mysterious Bajoran in a hooded cloak. The hooded man says a prayer in Bajoran, and then he pulls out a knife and stabs Sisko.
Yeah, when someone comes up to you in an alley, like staying in the shadows with their hooded cloak, you should be more concerned.
Yeah.
Although I half feel like this guy's wearing Ben's pajamas from earlier.
Ben's just like, where'd you get that great outfit? So yeah, Sisko got stabbed, and there is a lot of blood. An unusual amount of blood, I'd say, for Star Trek.
Yeah, that doesn't often get very bloody, it's true.
I think his white apron didn't help any, but then when Ben gets out of the hospital, he finds his dad back at the restaurant, forgetting what the special is.
Also, fun fact, in the back of this scene, we see a waiter serving. The waiter is David B. Levinson, who usually you see as Ferengi waiter Broik at Quark's.
I did notice the waiter in that scene, and I don't know, he's just not like a usual looking background guy.
No, I think he may have even been like Bajoran.
Oh, really?
I don't know. It's hard to get a good look at him. Maybe it's just my imagination. But when I saw him for an instant, I was like, "Does that guy have nose things?" But he's not wearing the earrings, so maybe not.
I don't know.
It's my imagination.
I think either the camera lingers on him, or there's just something kind of like distinct looking about him that he kind of caught my eye. So that's interesting to know. But yeah, Joe Sisko can't remember that the special is barbecue shrimp, not shrimp Creole. I don't know if this is a clue to something, but
it's all part of the secret recipes.
But yeah, Ben explains that it was a Pa Wraith worshiper who stabbed him, so I guess they caught him, or Ben just put two and two together. And Joe says, well, I'm not really worried about that Pa Wraith cult, even though they did stab you real bad. But I'm more worried about the evil space demons they worship. So it's like, okay, that's fair.
Yeah, I mean,
it's like if the cult figured out that you're going to that planet to get the orb, then the Pa Wraiths probably also know.
It is weird. I don't know how the cult knows this unless the Pa Wraiths told them. Like,
yeah.
It doesn't seem like Sisko's going around telling everybody, like, hey, I'm going to find a secret orb on Tyree.
I mean, it seems like the cultists are really the ones to worry about, because it seems like they're the ones doing the bidding. I think the Pa Wraiths are kind of like trapped still wherever they are.
Maybe, yeah. It's hard to know for sure what's up with the Pa Wraiths.
True. So at Quark's, O'Brien and Bashir toast the upcoming mission to attack the Dominion shipyards on Monak 4. Quark is a little worried because that's an incredibly dangerous mission, and the fact that he, the bartender, knows about it probably doesn't bode well for operational secrecy.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Also, apparently the shipyards at Monak are named after special effects supervisor Gary Monak.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Got to get in those little nods.
Yep.
I approve. But Bashir reveals he has decided to go along on the mission to help Dax get into Sto-vo-kor. And then Quark and O'Brien point out that she might not actually want to get into Sto-vo-kor, but I'm sure it's not like an obligatory thing.
Yeah, that's the real question. It's like, is she in Trill Heaven or whatever? And then they're going to go win this battle. And she's just like, somebody comes up to her and like taps her on the shoulders like, sorry, you're not allowed here anymore. Like, the Klingons have a claim on you now.
It's like your Trill Heaven passport has been revoked.
Yeah.
I don't know. I would assume that you get the option, like you can stay in Trill Heaven if you want, and you get the option to go to Sto-vo-kor if you want. So
maybe she can, take vacations to Sto-vo-kor.
Yeah, she has like dual citizenship or
yeah. There you go.
Whatever's going on. But O'Brien says, okay, well, if Bashir is going on the mission, I better go too, since he's my best friend and also the most combat ineffective person in the history of Star Trek.
Well, I mean, you're not counting Jake, but
true. In the history of Starfleet, at least.
Okay, yeah, there you go.
So Kira barges into a meeting between Ross and Kretak and tells the senator the Romulans are no longer welcome on Derna. So what's the universe coming to when you can't trust a Romulan?
I know, right?
I feel like Kira's like, this is what people are always talking about with the Romulans. And back on Cardassia, Weyoun and Damar hear about this news of the Romulans getting kicked off of Derna, and they are happy.
Yeah, it's something about the way that the scene plays out. It's just very amusing to me, where he's like, Weyoun's like, did you hear that the Romulans did this thing? And Damar plays it in no way like surprised or anything. She's like, huh, I bet the Bajorans don't like that.
Yeah. I felt like it was kind of a weird scene, honestly. Like, I feel like all of the Weyoun Damar stuff in here didn't really actually contribute anything to the plot, but
we just need that reminder that they're out there lurking.
Yeah. They just need a paycheck. I don't know.
And I do love the end where Jeffrey comes like, Romulans, so predictably duplicitous or whatever, or treacherous, whatever he says.
Yeah, that was a good line. I guess it's the season premiere, and people expect to have all these people in there. Although we didn't get any Garrick, which is...
Yeah, that's always a downer.
But in New Orleans, Ben comes downstairs to find that the restaurant is closed, and Joe and Jake are all packed and ready to join him on his mysterious mission to Tyree. So that's right, the Ciscos are going to Tyree. But before they can get out of there, there's a knock at the door. Joe goes and checks and finds a young Trill woman standing there. She asks if Ben is here, and Joe's like, yeah, come on in, stranger. He was just the victim of an assassination attempt, but you seem okay.
I mean, she is wearing a Starfleet uniform, which and is not Bajoran, which I feel like is going to be in her favor here.
Probably. I don't know. These guys could be sneaky, but she comes into the restaurant and gives Ben a knowing look and says, hello, Benjamin. And then Ben says, do I know you? And she's like, wait, do you really not understand what's going on here?
Yeah, like, it's not that hard a leap to make logically. I'm just throwing that out there.
Figure this out, dude. It's me, Dax. And then Ben looks at her for a second and is like, who? The end.
So there's a note about the writing staff having taken a hard emotional blow due to the departure of Terry Farrell. The writers proceeded to fill the vacuum that had been left in the ensemble by creating the new role of Esri Dax. As Renee Echevarria recalled, once we knew for certain that Terry wasn't going to return, we decided to take the opportunity to create a new Dax. And Iris says, we knew we needed a female. We couldn't have Kira be the only regular female character.
Oh, yeah.
And then the note is, with genuine enthusiasm, Hans Beimler adds, we were introducing a new character, which was really fun to write. So I'm glad that we editorialized that he's like jazzed about it.
Yeah. I mean, the thing about it is, even if Terry Farrell wasn't leaving, it's just like the most like obvious thing to do with the character at some point.
Yeah.
Is to like, have them die and then come back as a new Dax.
I mean, the character, it's like the species is designed for this story turn. So
yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, it just seems like the most natural plot point in the world. So
I mean, I guess actually, like, the species is literally designed around, like, they wrote that Next Generation episode where they wanted like the guy to become a woman or something suddenly, and they're like, how do we do it? Well, here, we'll do this, and that's like the genesis of the whole Trill.
Is that what happened in that episode?
I think so. Like Beverly like falls in love with a dude, and then at the end he becomes a woman because they move the symbiote or whatever. I think is what happens.
Was that the Trill episode? I don't know.
Yes, but they don't have spots yet at that
Right,
point. That was a
right.
redesign.
Okay.
And there's a bit of note about the casting of Ezri.
Okay.
So Ira Stephen Bear says, we started the casting process, and all I saw was a lot of people who couldn't play the part. There was absolutely no one in the running. And Renee Echevarria says, initially, I like Renee Echevarria puts it as Ira Stephen Bear was messing this up. I feel like he goes, initially, Ira was looking for someone who had kind of a spooky quality. We talked about it several times as a group, and I wasn't quite getting what he was going for. So Ira Stephen Bear's like, I couldn't find anybody. And Renee Echevarria's like, yeah, none of us knew what the heck he was looking for, and so it's no wonder he couldn't find anybody. So eventually the group redefined the character as a neurotic Trill who had a complex personality, as opposed to a non-complex personality.
Sure.
And hadn't been prepared for the joining. So the casting process became more focused. We wanted someone vulnerable, because Jadzia, as the show went on, became a stronger and stronger character. And we wanted someone young. Hans Weimler had worked with Nicole DeBoer, who was eventually cast in the part, on Beyond Reality and Tech War, and he called and asked her to send an audition tape in. So she did that, and they invited her to Los Angeles to audition in person, and Ira Stephen Bear says, we got a good vibe off of her. She knew the part, she got it, and that was it.
So she wasn't hired from her role in the cult classic movie Cube?
No.
Which is the only other thing I know her from.
I never saw Cube. I saw, like, Cube 2 Hypercube one time, but I never saw the original.
I did like a Cube marathon not too long ago, and now I can't even remember which Cube is which.
Now I'm going to go and see, let's see what she's been in. Anything else I know of? She's on Kids in the Hall for 3 episodes. I didn't actually watch that, but I'm familiar with it because of like Dave Foley and other people that came out of there.
Is she Canadian? That's a Canadian show, right?
Yeah, it is a Canadian sketch comedy show. Let me see. Yes, she's from Toronto.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
So what else is she in here? Tech War, 1 episode. National Lampoon Senior Trip.
I've not even heard of that one.
A Kids in the Hall movie, I assume is what that is. Poltergeist: The Legacy. Cube, like you said. My Date with the President's Daughter. I remember that one.
Was she the president's daughter?
I really don't think she was. I feel like that I would have remembered better. Because I remember like Will Friedle is the guy dating the president's daughter. Let's see.
Yeah, that was...
no, definitely not the president's daughter.
Yeah. I mean, I vaguely remember that movie, because that was more of like a kid movie, right?
Yeah. It's like a teen thing.
Yeah.
A couple episodes of The Outer Limits, and then Star Trek Deep Space Nine. A TV movie called Rated X. I assume not actually Rated X if it's a TV movie.
You never know.
72 episodes of The Dead Zone,
which
is the other thing that I knew her from. And then since then, not a whole lot. I mean, some stuff here and there. Oh, she's in 1 episode of the new Matlock series.
The new Matlock series?
Yeah, the 2024.
With Kathy Bates?
Yeah.
Wow. I have not watched any of that.
I don't recognize most of the other stuff that she's done, like an episode in or a TV movie here and there. So I guess this was not the launching off point for, an amazing career.
I don't know. I mean, she's got even 1 season of Star Trek has got to be pretty lucrative. And then
I would think, yeah.
I mean, she was on the Dead Zone. I didn't realize the Dead Zone ran for so long.
Yeah, 2002 to 2007, this says.
I need to check out this Dead Zone TV show sometime.
I remember for the time, early 2000s, I remember thinking it was okay, but once again, I was only watching it because she was one of the stars, and this was just a couple of years after Deep Space Nine ended. So
sure. Yeah, I mentioned, like, I just saw the Dead Zone movie for the first time, like, not too long ago with Christopher Walken.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever actually seen that.
Pretty interesting movie. I think I reviewed it on my video where you were on vacation for a week, so I just reviewed a bunch of movies I'd seen lately.
Nice.
And I forget what rating I gave it, so I think I gave it a positive rating. So welcome, Nicole DeBoer, to the world of Star Trek.
Yep. Glad to have you.
Welcome to the world of tomorrow.
I like that Terry Farrell is credited in this episode as Jadzia Dax, parentheses, photography.
Nice.
Or actually, she's under the uncredited co-star, so I guess not technically credited.
Oh, sure.
But also, Michelle Barrett is the narrator. Was there a narrator?
Oh, did she do like the previously on Deep Space Nine?
Oh,
that.
Okay,
like
that must have been, yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I was just like, what's being narrated? But yeah.
Right. It's like, and then Captain Sisko scrubbed some more clams.
Also, I love that there's one co-star credit as opposed to guest star or special guest star. The co-star is Johnny Moran as Bajoran Man. I assume this is Stabby Bajoran Man. But...
Sure. They didn't want to spoil it with Stabby Bajoran.
Right, yeah, obviously. They could have gone Bajoran Assassin.
Ooh.
Still a bit of a spoiler there.
Pa-Wraith Cult Assassin.
Mm.
So anyway, yeah, let's review it. So, how do you feel about this episode, Image in the Sand, or Images in the Sands?
Image in the Sand.
Image in the Sand.
One of those things.
Right.
There's something about sand happening, right? So
I think it's singular image and singular sand.
Good. Okay.
How do you rate it?
Okay, so this is an episode that there's nothing that I particularly dislike about this episode, and we're getting we got the very brief introduction of Ezri Dax, which I'm excited about because I like the actress and the character, and I like some of where they take her in this season because we only get one season with her. So I guess spoiler, she's going to get some attention.
So this isn't the only appearance of Ezri Dax.
Right, exactly.
And her name is Ezri Dax.
Well, we knew that from the credits. We established this.
Right.
So it has some positives in those areas for me, but the rest of it, I feel like overall the episode is just kind of meh. And maybe it's this idea that they're going for like this kind of chill, taking a breath sort of moment.
Uh-huh.
But there's some odd choices in here. I feel like I get that we want to see Worf dealing with the loss of Jadzia. We don't want to just like gloss over her existence and move on.
Sure.
It's weird to me that we're gonna do this obsessive like she didn't make it into Stovokor and calling out like she never ate the heart of one of her enemies when we're like, but she kind of like we saw the episode where that was supposed to have happened. So,
right.
And I don't find it out of character particularly or anything. It just seems like a weird choice story-wise to me. It seems like a real weird choice to have this dramatic stabbing, go into a commercial break, and then come back from the commercial break. Oh no, he's actually fine.
Well, Deep Space Nine does that all the time. Like,
yeah,
I swear, didn't one time they actually declare Quark dead? Like before the commercial break, and they came back and they were like, "Oh no, he's actually okay."
Yeah, you may be right. Okay, that's maybe that's just a Deep Space Nine thing that they like to do. There's that one great episode of Firefly where they're like, "Oh, we gotta go save the captain before he's dead," and then it cuts to like Nishka, and he's like, and Nishka's henchman is like, "No, he's dead," and that's the commercial break. But okay, so Kira getting promoted, that's good. This Romulan story, it also feels like a weird like rabbit hole to go down unless it's gonna be a significant contributor in the rest of the season. This ongoing dispute between the Bajorans and the Romulans. It like let's have Kira make friends with a Romulan, but then immediately be betrayed. Like you could have drawn that out over a couple episodes because it really does make it seem like they got approved for and built a hospital in one day. And then in one other day, their deception was found out.
Mm-hmm.
Like, give that some room to breathe. So there's a lot of like, just not stuff that I'm like, I have a problem with really, but just stuff that I'm like, well, that was a weird choice to make. And so I feel like this is probably like just above the line for me. We're going to like Lieutenant Commander, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't feel like a season premiere. Which I think makes it feel a little weird. It feels more like a mid-season episode of like a more modern serialized show where they just have to touch on all the characters and all the storylines real fast to kind of like gradually move things along.
Okay.
That's what it feels like to me anyway. And like I said, I feel like the Damar and Wayun scenes are totally useless to the plot, other than they kind of like reveal in dialogue that the war has swung back in the direction of the Dominion. But
yeah,
other than that, I guess we had to come back to this Damar is an alcoholic story that they remembered they set up a long time ago. But yeah, it's just I feel pretty much the same way. It's just not a lot like you said, the Kira story. I don't know why we need this at all. I don't remember if this ever comes back in a big way. I kind of don't think it does. What else? What other stories did we have? So we had the Worf story, the Kira story.
O'Brien goes to is really part of the Worf story, but it was kind of a fun little bit.
Yeah, that was fun. That was fun. I liked that part. I like the part when Worf takes a swig of the bottle and he's like, very smooth. Okay, see ya.
Yeah, bye now. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, that was cool.
The Cisco story, I think, is the bit you're missing.
The Cisco story is the only actual plot related story I feel like. Other than I guess Worf going to get Dax or Jadzia into Stovacor, maybe, but it just sets up two fun sounding adventures, like the going to Tyree to track down the orb, and the going on this mission to get Jadzia into Stovacor. I feel like we could have maybe cut some of the less eventful, less interesting stuff out of the episode and maybe jumped more into some of that stuff, but I don't know. So anyway, my feelings is pretty much the same. I call it a lieutenant commander.
Okay.
Ira Stephen Bear is just he's just too avant-garde and high level for me to understand what he's doing, I guess. I don't know.
He's an artist,
Yeah. I'm sure he'd be mad at me for not understanding the brilliance of this chill episode where not very much happens, but right at the beginning of the season where you don't expect it. Anyway, so what about the title? How do you feel about the title?
Okay, it's memorable. When you talk about images in the sand, I'm like, oh, I remember that one where there's the face in the sand. It fits. They don't lean into the metaphor that the title would represent. I don't feel like where when you talk about images in the sand, that means that they're
temporary.
Very temporary.
Yeah.
Easy to efface and or change. And so I don't know that fits with anything we see in the episode. It was just hey, there's an image in the sand. Why don't we call it that? So clever, I don't know about. Appropriate, sure, and I think it's pretty memorable. So better than average, I would say, as far as titles go.
Yeah, I think it's pretty good. It's a little poetic sounding, but then and you're like, oh, what could image in the sand mean? And oh, hey, look, there's an image right there in the sand.
Yeah, it's a literal thing. Okay, got it.
So okay, that's all right. The episode delivered on the image in the sand. So, yeah, can't get mad at it. Pretty good. Did you have it come up with any other bits you want to try, like the Kira hairstyle watch, or?
No, I don't think so.
All right.
I've been thinking about it, and I was like, I can't think of anything in particular this season that it would make sense at this point.
So, yeah, I guess we'll finish up our discussion there. That was our discussion of Image in the Sand. Thank you for listening. If you like that one, maybe you'll like our discussion of...
Just go back and listen to all the season premieres from all of the other seasons.
Oh, yeah. That would be a fun cross-section of how the podcast evolved.
Yeah. See how excited we often are and how not as excited this episode promises to be.
Yeah, because I feel like usually we're like, oh my gosh, Worf showed up, and this time we're like, oh, Kira made a friend, and then the friend turned out to be a little shady.
The friend turned out to be a Romulan, and that pretty much explains it all.
Yeah. But yeah, you can listen to all our reviews of past episodes, wherever you're listening to this. Maybe future episodes, if you're listening to this farther in the future than when we posted it. And you can leave us comments, too, on the YouTube channel. So, but my name is Fletcher. About to say goodbye is Data.
Bye.
We look forward to seeing you next week on Undeclared Bajor. But remember, the special is shrimp Creole. I mean barbecue shrimp.
It's one of those.
You'll get some shrimp anyway.
Yeah.